We just got done with Ahsoka Episode 3, Part 3, Time to Fly, and my goodness does this show continue to feel not only like Rebels Season 5, but just a love letter to Rebels fans. And I said it in my reaction video, go check it out, I'll link it in the cards, but this show just continues to feel like Star Wars, man, and I just haven't had this feeling for so long. And I've been talking about this the last week, and even just online, like the discourse that everybody is having, just the last week alone, there's so much excitement and positivity around Star Wars for the first time in so long, so much speculating, this, that, and the third, and it just feels worth it because even 3 episodes in, just 2 weeks of Ahsoka so far, has felt like we are getting something we finally deserve, something that actually feels like Star Wars, and a story that is actually heading somewhere. And we speculated in a recent video here on the channel that Dave Filoni continues to create another galaxy that is going to lead to something bigger than I think any of us could have originally thought, and this episode just continued to travel down that path. And there was a bunch of little things that I liked in this episode, man, and it was short. That was the one knock against it. It was a short episode, but like, it is what it is. Quality over quantity of minutes, I guess. I'd rather a 30-minute really good episode than a 50-minute drag on this sucked Andor episode. But like, just some of the little things I liked. Of course, the episode opened with Ahsoka training Sabine on the ship, and one thing that I'm really enjoying just in this first episode is that Sabine is not picking it up that easy. I'm looking at you, Miss Rey Skywalker, Palpatine, whatever you want to say. Sabine was falling flat on her face. She just wasn't understanding. At one point, she's trying to use the Force in this episode, and this cup that she's trying to move just doesn't budge. It doesn't move at all, and I love it. I don't want Sabine to pick it up just like that. Obviously, she has some experience with the Darksaber, just fighting in general. They even said in the episode she has Mandalorian fighting experience, but that won't be enough basically to fight this war. And what Sabine is doing right now, training to become a Jedi, is not there yet, and it's not going to be there for at least a little bit. And I love that Sabine is falling down right now because eventually it's going to make her rise that much better. I don't want to see somebody pick it up so easily first try. That's what made Luke Skywalker so special back in the day, is he failed and then eventually succeeded. Now we're seeing Sabine fail and then eventually she'll succeed, and it's going to make her character that much better. Just like Ahsoka herself, which again just makes Sabine that much better. At one point she literally puts the mask on Sabine and then starts like hitting her in certain spots with like whatever stick she had to try to get Sabine to feel, to try to get Sabine to see with more than just her eyes, was her words. Again, trying to really tap into that Force. And Sabine, even though she started picking it up a little bit, eventually just fell literally on her face on the ground. Good. That's what I want to see. That's good storytelling. That's good building a character, if you will. We did see Hera speak to Mon Mothma and a couple of other senators about what is going on, trying to get a New Republic fleet, basically to follow them out to wherever Thrawn is eventually if they go, or just to try to really investigate the whole situation. And they basically weren't having any of it, but specifically one senator. I don't know if they gave him a name, that maybe it was in the credits, I don't know, which there's something we do have to talk about the credits in a second. But even though Mon Mothma looked a little concerned and she didn't really flat out say yes or no, the rest of the senators really weren't having it. They were like, you just want to go find Ezra. Thrawn died years ago. We don't believe you. Basically, in layman's term, is what they were saying. And at one point, Hera literally looks at one of these senators and is like, hey buddy, did you ever fight in the war? That's what I thought. Loved it. And then right after that, we got the live action debut of Jacen Syndulla, which wasn't like a oh my god moment for me, because and I'm sure a lot of other people out there, because like we kind of expected he would be in this show. Like, if it would be weird if he wasn't, like, where, Hero, where's your kid at? It just wouldn't make any sense for him to not be in this show. But it was cool to see him, green hair and all, next to Chopper. It was a cool moment, and he did say, and this was the coolest part outside of just seeing Jacen Syndulla, was the fact that he said he wanted to be a Jedi. Like, he uttered like 2 sentences this whole thing, and one of them was, I want to be a Jedi. Of course you do. You want to be just like your dad, and that's awesome. And actually, one thing that Hera said when she was talking to the senators was that Thrawn is no average Imperial officer. I'm rephrasing that, but it was something along those lines. And I love that she kind of put over Thrawn in that way, just making him seem like this great almighty threat that we know he is, and literally telling some of these senators like, yo, you don't know what you're dealing with. Like, I've dealt with him. I've fought in the war with him, if you will. Like, you don't know what you're dealing with. He's a big deal. He's a mastermind. We gotta take him seriously, whether you think he's dead or not. And just in those first first like 2-3 scenes, I thought this episode was really good, but the majority of the episode, of the 30 minutes, whatever it was, if you will, takes place in the middle of a good old-fashioned space battle. And one thing I said in my reaction video, and I'll reiterate here, and one thing I said in my last video that I've now added on to, is Star Wars was about 4 things, but now I'm adding 5. It's about the Jedi, the Sith, lightsabers, the Force, and space battles. And what did we get in this episode? A badass space battle that felt like Star Wars. We got Shin Baddie. I had to say Shin Baddie. I mean, that's what everybody's been saying on the internet. But we got Shin, crazy eyes and all. We got Marrok, might be Sam Witwer, I don't know. His name was in the credits for the 2nd week in a row. That's no coincidence. And Marrok did, I think, make another grunt or something in this episode. So even if Sam isn't technically under the mask, he's definitely doing that voice, no doubt about it. I hope we get a reveal. I do think it'd be partially funny if Marrok was nobody, but my friend Tony pointed this out. Shout out to Star Wars Sith. He said that Marrok being nobody would feel like a very Disney thing, but this is Dave Filoni, and Dave we trust. He wouldn't let us speculate on Marrok and make him feel like such a big deal if somebody wasn't under the hood. So I do think somebody is going to be under that mask of Marrok, and I do, or Marrok, whatever you say his name, and I do think it might be Sam Witwer, Galen Marrok, Star Killer, whatever. I'm sure we'll talk more about that later this week, but another little thing to note there, Sam Witwer once again in the credits for the 2nd week in a row. But eventually Ahsoka and Sabine, and Huyang for that matter, who was once again hilarious this episode, some great one-liners from everybody's favorite professor, eventually they come across Morgan Elsbeth's hyperdrive ring, all the while Shin, and again Marrok, or whatever, however the hell you say his name, are shooting at them. They kind of lose them for a second, they split them off, but then Morgan Elsbeth starts shooting, or at least her droids or whatever starts shooting, her people, and they take out a little bit of Ahsoka's ship, at least knock the power out. Huyang goes down, and then we get something that I really thought was cool. Sabine starts basically rewiring this ship, running a full diagnostics, trying to get the power back up, and Ahsoka puts on the full outfit and goes out into space, but onto the ship, and it just felt very Clone Wars, Rebels, just very Dave Filoni-esque. Ahsoka leaving the ship, full suit, going out there, double lightsabers, and fighting off Shin and Marrok herself as they shoot at her, trying to knock her basically off the ship and, well, kill her. And I thought that was super badass, man. Immediately when she walked out of that ship, I was like, this just feels very Clone Wars, Rebels, Dave Filoni-esque, and I love it. Love letter to Rebels, and really just all of the animations is this show. Can't get enough of it. Nonetheless, eventually Sabine gets the ship running enough. Ahsoka gets back in, and they start heading towards, I believe the planet is Cetos. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's the Red Woods planet that we've seen Baylan and Shin and Morgan Elsbeth on last week, and we've seen a ton in trailers and this, that, and the other. And sorry if I'm saying that name wrong, Cetos, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that's the name of the planet. But as they're basically entering the atmosphere, and this was the big spiritual experience of this episode, and I think this was the moment that was kind of being referred to online this week by some that was really gonna make fans happy in this episode. We're getting this basically space battle into the atmosphere, and as Shin and Marrok are on Sabine and Ahsoka trying to shoot them out of the air, purrgills, live action, and obviously I guess we've kind of seen glimpses of them in live action, but up close and personal start coming your way on the screen, and we just get, and the music in the moment when they first showed up was super just spiritual experience. I don't know how to describe it, just go watch it for yourself. But then the fight continues through these purrgills, like they're all trying to navigate as the purrgills are just basically showing up or flying through, whatever you want to say, and eventually Ahsoka and Sabine lose Shin and Marrok, but my god, was that super cool scene of super live action. Just their entrance onto the screen just felt grand, just felt important. Again, the music, chef's kiss. Eventually Ahsoka and Sabine land in the Red Woods trying to hang low. They shut the power off. Shin and Marrok lose them. One thing I thought was cool is we kind of get this shot of Ahsoka's ship, sorry I forget what it's called, in the Red Woods, and just the way it looked, the way they shot it, felt very Luke Skywalker's X-Wing on Dagobah-esque. Like, I don't know if we can, like, if you guys felt that as well, but just the way it was shot, it just gave me those vibes, which I loved. And then eventually Huyang comes back on, and I literally wrote down the exact quote, because I just wanted to say this so then we can talk about it a little bit. But they're talking about Morgan Elsbeth's hyperspace ring that they just flew through and basically had a mini battle with. And Huyang's explaining the fact that he's never seen something built this big before, this magnitude, that could shoot an incredible distance into the galaxy. And then Ahsoka asked Huyang, again I literally wrote this down so we could talk about it here, could a ring like that make a jump to a neighboring galaxy. Very specific, neighboring galaxy. Huyang goes on to say, theoretically, if one knew the coordinates and navigation, yes, I believe it could. The Jedi archives speak of intergalactic hyperspace lanes between galaxies, which used to follow the migration paths of star whales named purrgills. Beautiful line there. Very just layman's terms almost explained what we just saw, and I think explained where we are heading. Again, we have been speculating on this for over a week, basically. Where we're heading, a new galaxy. What is Dave Filoni creating? But just this line, or couple of lines, whatever, and some may be thinking, well, yeah, that's exactly what we thought. But just hearing it out loud, talking about the fact that we can go into a different lane, a different galaxy, a neighboring galaxy, space paths that have only been traveled by these purrgills, like the fact that they're just saying it, explaining it, it just gets me excited because it just reiterates what we've all been talking about, and that's this different galaxy that Dave Filoni is creating that can create so much elbow room for new Star Wars in the best way possible, and I just thought it was super cool. And the fact that they also just said the name of the purrgills, which again was awesome, because we get a little moment between Ahsoka and Sabine where Sabine's kind of smirking a little bit and she's like, I haven't seen those creatures since Ezra disappeared. And I think what they were trying to show you there is Sabine's talking about she hasn't seen those creatures since Ezra disappeared, and now that she's seeing them, and now that we're talking about how they travel to neighboring galaxies, she's kind of getting internally a little bit more excited, like, I think Ezra's alive. It's a little bit more confirmation than she already thought that Ezra Bridger is still alive. And that was just awesome, man. The whole episode was great. The whole space battle was great, but that just ending few moments of the battle as they enter the atmosphere into the purrgills and land into the red woods, and then they're talking about what they just saw. Beautiful Star Wars. And then the episode ends, basically we see Balin where we left him last week, sending the HK droids, I believe they're called, into the woods to hunt down the Jedi. So I'm sure next week, I believe, and this is what people are already speculating, is going to be what we have seen from the trailers, which is some of the lightsaber battles in the Red Woods. I believe it's Sabine and Shin going at it, and then we also have Ahsoka and Balin in a lightsaber duel. I believe that's where we're heading next week, which is going to be sick. We didn't get any lightsaber battles in this episode. Didn't mind it because we got plenty in the first two. Space battle in this episode. Now we'll ignite some lightsabers, possibly double duels at the same time next week. Cannot wait, man. Overall, I thought this week was an absolute great episode. Again, short, but I'll take the quality over the quantity of minutes, and I continue to feel like this now 2 weeks in a row, and I'm gonna feel like this next week. Literally the last, I'm excited all week, excited all day, but that last hour and a half before 9 p.m. hits here on the East Coast and Ahsoka's about to come out, I just can't focus. I can't do anything. I just wait and in anticipation for what's gonna happen. And I want to reiterate that and say it because it's been so long since we've had that feeling. I didn't feel that way when Mando Season 3 was coming out. I didn't feel that way, hell, when Bad Batch Season 2 was coming out, but I don't even want to throw that in there because I look at animation and live action in two different perspectives. Andor, I completely stopped watching like halfway during the season. It sucked so bad. Even during the Obi-Wan Kenobi show last year, after we saw where it was heading and the vibe we were getting from the show and so many cons that were popping up when we all just wanted to enjoy Kenobi and Vader, the excitement was lacking week after week. But the excitement is literally at an all-time high. I just spit everywhere. The excitement is literally at an all-time high. I cannot wait for next week. It was a great episode. Go watch again my reactions if you didn't already. I'll link them up in the cards, and we're definitely going to be talking about this episode and just Ahsoka overall, Star Wars overall, where we are heading more throughout this week. So be sure to hit the like button down below and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Nonetheless, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you enjoyed Ahsoka episode 3, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
This is Rogue 2. This is Rogue 2. Commander Skywalker, do you copy? This is Rogue 2.